What's up guys, welcome back, and in this video I'd like to clean up our code and do some refactoring. So let's go ahead and get started. So one quick fix here is if you go into one of the show views, so let me just click on a movie here, and on this page there are a few times when I'm looping over a collection and only making use of a subset of that collection. So for example here where I'm grabbing the crew, I'm only using the first two. Same for the cast, I'm only using 5. And same for the images, I'm only using 9. So if you go into our code and go to the show blade, you'll see, so for the crew one, so for this, should be somewhere here, right here. So what I forgot to do here is break out of the loop so we don't continue looping. So that can make performance a bit better. So all we have to do is add an else statement here and break the loop using break. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for those other two instances. So loop index, this is the images of the cast. So we can do the same thing here. So we can do else break. And for the next one, this is for the images, and we can do the same thing here. Else break. And this should still work. Cool. Let's make sure this works and make sure this works. Okay. So we're actually going to get rid of this entirely as part of our refactor, but I thought I'd just mention that. So the refactor I'm going to focus on in this video is making our views cleaner. So in general, a good practice for views is you want to keep them as dumb as possible, meaning you want to perform minimal amounts of logic in your views. So if you look at the show blade, like we are here, you'll see that I am doing some logic in here. It's not heavy logic. For example, I am appending a URL here to the poster movie path. Here I am converting a date. Here I am formatting a string. And even for the genres, I'm doing some logic here. So what we want to do here is perform the logic somewhere else. So this can be in multiple places, either your controller, your model, even though we're not using models in this case, or somewhere else. So that's what we'll do here. So for this, I'm going to make use of a package from Spatie called Laravel Few Models. And if you look at the description, this is exactly what you're trying to do. So have you ever made a controller where you had to do a lot of work to prepare your variables to a view? Then it says you can move this logic into a view model. So let's go ahead and make use of this. So let's install it. Okay, and let's go ahead and make a view model here. So I'm going to start with the index page. So if you go to index.blade.php, let's go back to that in our view as well. Let's go back to our main page. And you'll see that I am making use of this blade component, so movie card, and we're going to do the same thing that I just showed you. So we're going to move this into the view model. We're going to move the vote average. We're going to move the formatting of the date and the genres into the view model. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's open up our controller as well. So movie controller. And to use it, if you look at the docs, you'll see here is a view model class. But in the controller, instead of passing the variables to the view, you pass a view model. And here is how you instantiate it. And within our view model, this is what's getting transformed and being passed to the view. So let's go ahead and create a view model. And for this first one, we will create a movies view model. So let's do PHP artisan make view model, movies view model. Say movies view model. Okay. And that was created in app view models right here. Okay, so what do we need? Let's look at our movies controller, and you'll see that we're passing in 3 things to our view. So that means we need 3 things in our constructor here. So we have popular movies, now playing movies, and genres. So let's add that. Popular movies, now playing movies, and genres. And let's go ahead and add public properties for these. So public popular movies. And let's go ahead and assign them here. So this popular movies is popular movies. Okay. And now in our controller, instead of passing it in to our view here, let's just pass in a view model. So let me just comment this out for now, and then I'll delete it later. And here, instead of passing it in, we're going to pass in a view model. So let's do view model. Actually, let me see how to use this. Back to up here. Yeah, so we just pass in the view model, and we want to create a new one like this. So let's make a new one here. And we are passing in 3 pieces of information. So popular movies, now playing movies, and genres. Okay. Back to our view model. Now let's make public methods for each one of these, and this is what's going to get passed into the view. So let's make one for popular movies. Okay, and let's just return this popular movies. And let's do the same for the other 2 as well. Okay, so I added those methods. And again, this, whatever is returned in this function is what's going to be returned to the view. So now if I did everything correctly, this should still work. We have to import post view model. Oh, sorry, I think I didn't change that name. This should be movies view model. We have to import that. Import, okay. And now let's try this again. I made a typo, of course. And it still works, cool. So now we can move the logic that we're performing in the view into our view model. So let me show you what I mean. So start with this poster path here. So again, instead of doing it in here, we can do it in our view model. So let me just show you what I'm trying to do here. Back to our view model actually. So we have to change this so that it returns what we want. So let me try dumping this to better illustrate what I'm trying to do. So let me turn this into a collection so I can use dump. Okay, let's change this and do this. Okay, so now it's a collection. And we can see it up here. So what we want to do is drill down into the movie. And for poster path, instead of this, we're going to want the full path to the actual image. And same for the other fields here. So for example, for vote average, we want this to be 60%. And we want the genres formatted here already in a comma separated way. So how do we do that? So first thing we want to do is map over the movies. So let's go ahead and do that first. So map function movie. And let's do this. Or you can use short closure syntax if you're using PHP 7.4. And let's just return the movie for now. And this should still be the same. Let's try that out. Okay. But now for each movie, so right now I'm mapping over the movies. We also want to map over each field in the movie. So let's do another operation here. And that operation is the merge function on the collection. So let me just show you what it's going to do. So merge. And we just want to give it the same name. And here is where we're going to perform the operation. So the operation in the view, so right here, so this operation is now going to be moved to the view models. So that was our entire goal from the beginning. Let's paste that in, and let's make sure to put a string here. And now you'll see that poster path now has this value. Actually, let me just cut this out and make it more clear to you. Let's just say foo. And then now, sorry, you have to change this to a collection. So collect movie. Okay. And now each poster path should be foo. So obviously that's not going to work. But now you'll see that the poster path is now foo. So again, let's put this back to what we had, and that should be what we want. Again, refresh, and our poster path is now transformed to the field that we want it to be. And now in our view, we can just output that instead of performing the calculation in there. So let's do the same for the vote average, or if you want, you can rename these. It's up to you. I'm just going to name it the same as what we already have. And if you take a look at our view, all we're doing is multiplying by 10 and adding a % sign. So let's grab that. Okay. And let's do the same for our release date. And if you go into our view, you'll see we're using carbon here. So let's grab this. And I'm just going to import carbon directly. So let's get rid of that first one. Import carbon. And that should do it. So we'll do the genres in a second, but now we can change this stuff in our view. So now we don't have to perform the calculation in here. We can just output it directly. And the next one is this, vote average. Don't need to do this. Okay, and we don't need to do this. Okay, and in our index view, I'm just going to comment out this for now because we haven't done now playing movies as of now. So let's see if this works now. And it does, cool. So everything is the same, but now we moved the logic from the view into our view model class. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for our now playing movies. So I'm going to put this back. And in our view model, we're basically going to do the same thing here. And just paste this. But instead of popular movies, it's now playing movies. And if I did that correctly, everything should work now. And it does, cool. So this is obviously repeated code, so we can extract this to a helper method here. So let's make one here. Let's call it format movies. It takes in a movies array, and we can just grab this, paste it in. We can remove the dump now. Actually, I'll just leave it in for now. And instead of this, we're gonna use the parameter coming in. And now we can just replace this with this. Actually, we have to return it. So return this format movies. And the parameter is this now playing movies. And the same for up here. But now the parameter is popular movies. Okay, see if this works. And it does, awesome. And we can get rid of our dump here. Let's get rid of this. And it's looking pretty clean. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put that dump back because now we're going to work on the genres right here. So if you look at our component here, we are performing some logic to display the genre in a comma separated way. So let's go ahead and move this logic to the view model. So if you look at our controller, this is where the genres array is coming back, and this is just a list of all genres in the API. And then what I do is transform that so that we have a collection with an ID and the genre name. So what we can do is actually move this, because this is not grabbing any information from the API. This is just transforming it. So let's move that to the view model. And let's rename this genres array to genres. And again, we'll get rid of this. And now in our genres function here is where we can put that, and let's just return it. Okay. And instead of genres array, it's going to be this genres because we're passing it in. And now we can make use of this in our function here. So I forgot to change this to private. So let's change that to private. And we can move this down if you want, just so we can group public functions and private functions together. So now we can extract this logic. So this for each. So let me just copy this and paste it in here. So I'm going to do the work in here and just comment it out. And let's move that logic into here. So to see what we're doing, I'm going to add a new genres key here. So this is going to be added to each movie. And for now, let's just put this genres as a method. So this is going to be every single genre in the API. So if I refresh this, you'll see that each movie has every single genre in the API. So if we go here, click a movie, genres has every right here. So there's 19 genres. So what we want to do is just compare that against this genre IDs. So this is the genre specific to this movie. And then we want to do the comma separation operation in here in our view model. So let's go ahead and do that. So right here, I'm going to make a new genres formatted temporary variable. And I'm going to collect the movie genres ID. So this is the specific movie. So genre IDs. And I'm going to use the map with keys again. So let's go ahead and do that. So map with keys, function, save value. Okay. And I want the key to be the genre ID. So that's going to be value. And then the value is going to be the actual genre. So we can do this genres because this is all the genres in the API, and we can get the value. Okay. And let me just show you what the result of this is. So now we can change this to genres formatted. Okay. Movie. So what I'm trying to do is put this in here. So after the first map. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, so now in our movie, we now have this genres key, and this just has the genre ID and the name as an array. And to comma separate it, we can make use of the implode function in PHP, which just adds this character in between each items in the array. So now this should be comma separated, and that should be exactly what we want, and we can just output it in the view. And there it is. Cool. So back to our view, and instead of doing all of this, we can just output the movie genres. Okay, let's try that out. Okay, and it still works. Cool. And if you remember in the testing video, you saw that I felt that the tests were brittle because it depended on the format of what was in here. But now we got rid of that because we're calculating that in the view model. And speaking of our tests, let's see if they still pass. So I have a alias for PHP Artisan, and we can just call test, and it still works. So let's get rid of that dump now since we don't need it. Okay, let's run a test again. And there you see them passing. Cool. Actually, I'm going to put that dump back one more time. I always get rid of it and put it back. And get rid of this. And I'm going to show you one more thing. So if you go back here and look at the dump, you'll see that we have a bunch of fields here in the movie that we're not using. For example, original language, vote count, and so on. So if you only want to return the things we're using, we can do that in our collection as well. So after the merge, we can do only and specify an array of the fields we want. And I believe there is the opposite way as well. Maybe there's an accept method, but I'll stick with only here. And I'm just going to paste in the fields that we want. So the fields that we're making use of. So those are all the fields we're making use of. And now if I refresh this again, you'll see that everything still works here. But now we're just returning what we want. So only 8 fields now, and we're making use of all of these. Cool. So now we can get rid of that dump. And let's run our test again. And everything still works. Awesome. Okay, now let's work on the show view. So let's go into one of these. And it's basically the same thing with a few changes because what's coming back is a bit different. So let's do the same thing. Let's make a view model. And for this one, I'm going to call it movie view model. So it's just singular. Okay. And let's go to that. And let's take a look at our controller. Let's go to our show view here. And the only thing we're passing in is a movie. So we just need one parameter here. So just a movie. And I believe I have a snippet that helps me do this quickly. This one. Yeah. So movie. Okay. And let's make this public. Okay. And let's go ahead and make a method. So this is what the view is going to use. So public. Actually, let's do MET. Movie. No params. And let's just return the movie for now. So return this movie. Okay. And let's go ahead and change our controller. So let's just return the view model here. View model. And let's go ahead and instantiate it here. So view model is new movie view model. And let's pass in the movie here. Okay. And let's make sure to import this. Okay. And this should still work. But now I'm using the view model. Okay. And let's go ahead and start transforming our data. So we can do the same thing here, but we can just merge it directly from here because the data is already coming back as a movie, a single movie. So let's do collect this movie and we can merge it here. And same thing goes here. So I'm just going to copy what we have in our movies view model, at least the first few entries. So let's grab these. Grab this. Let's paste that in. And this has to be this movie. And same with this. And same with this. Should have did multiple cursors there. Okay. Save this. Let's go into our show blade and let's just use those instead. So let's just use the movie poster path here. And for the average, we don't need this. And for the release date, we don't need this. Okay. And let's see if this still works. Carbon not found. Let's import carbon right here. Okay, try again. Okay, so it still works. So for the genres, it is actually coming back in the show view. So let me show you what I mean. Let's add a new section here for genres. Actually, let me just dump it first so I can give you a reminder of the genres coming in. And you'll see it up here. The genres do come in for the specific movie right here. But we just have to format it in a comma separated way. So let's do that. So for the genres, I'll add one here. And we're going to collect this movie genres. Should be an array actually. And we want to pluck the name. So what this does is just takes the value. So it's just going to take this value, and we don't want the ID anymore. So we'll pluck the name. Oops. And after that, we want to flatten the array or the collection. And let's see what we get here. This should just give us an array of the genres. So right here. Cool. Actually, that didn't work. That's because I didn't save it. Try again. Offset name. So let me try going to my show blade and removing this for now. I think that's causing the issue. So let me just comment this out for now. Okay. Okay, cool. So what do we get here? Genres, collection. Okay, so it's just a collection of the genres, and now we just have to call implode on it like we did earlier. So implode, comma with a space, and that should give us what we want. Try again. And there it is. Cool. So let's change that in our view. So we just have to do movie genres. So movie genres. Okay. See if this works. And it does. Awesome. So now let's go back to our view. We've cleaned this up, but we can also clean this up over here. So this logic where it only grabs two and then loops over them. So we can get rid of this as well. So let me show you what I mean. So back to our view model, we can make a new field here, or a new key called crew. And here's where we can perform the logic. So instead of doing it in the view, again, we're doing it in here. So we'll do collect this movie. So if you look at the view, we're doing movie credits crew. So we can just do that in here. So movie credits crew. And I'm just going to take two because we're only using two in the view. So now in our view, we no longer need this if. So let's get rid of all this. And this should still work. Okay. So let's see if the crew still works. And it does, but it's grabbing everyone now. Did I do that right? Oh, sorry. Right. So we changed this now to movies crew instead of movies credit crew because we specified that new key in our movie key. Movies array, I mean. There we go. Cool. So we can do the same thing for cast and images. So let's do that quickly. So let me just duplicate this. So this one will be for cast, and this one will be for images. So this one will be movie credits cast, and I'm only using 5, so let's do that. And for the images, it's movie images, if I can spell right, and backdrops. And we're using 9 of these. So you can just grab 9 here. Okay. And now in our view, let's get rid of those if statements. So where's the cast here? So we'll just look for index here. There it is. And we can do movies cast. And we don't need this if statement anymore. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And re-indent this. Okay. And it's the same for our images here. This is now just called images. So we don't need this backdrops key. Let's get rid of this if. Get rid of this. Okay. And let's do that. Okay. See if this still works. And it does. Awesome. And if we want, we can also do the only method here to grab the fields that we're only using. So I'm just going to copy that. So let's get rid of the dump here. And let's add that. Okay. And see if this still works. Okay, awesome. Cast still works, images still work. The JavaScript still works. Yes, it does. Does the trailer still work? Yep, it does. And I think there's one thing I forgot to show you that cleans up our code. If you go back to the index blade, we are passing in the genres here, but we no longer need this because we're calculating it within our view model. So let me get rid of this. This is blade component we made. So let's go to our movie card. No longer need this. Genres. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. And see if this still works. Let's go back to our index. And it still does. Awesome. And we've cleaned up our blade component. Again, as a final test, let me just run my tests. Everything still works and is passing. But now we've cleaned up our code so that our views are cleaner and not performing any logic. And all that logic is now performed in our view model class. So now if you take a look at our controllers, they're very clean. Their only responsibility is to grab data from an external source, whether that's your database or in our case an API. And then all it does is pass that information to a view model. And if you go to our view model, this class's responsibility is to format the data coming in and prepare it for the views. As you can see, we did all of this work in this video. And then our view is just responsible for outputting that data and not performing any logic or minimal logic, like looping over a collection and just displaying the fields. So yeah, definitely an option for a refactor if you want to make your views and controllers lighter. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.